indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a seat. Welcome on this rainy evening. Roll call.
Quorum.
Here.
Nikki. Here. Sarah. Here. Phillips.
Here.
Mike.
Here.
John.
Here.
Page.
Here.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass.
Here.
On the agenda for this evening, we have an additional ordinance that's sponsored by Mary Phillips, another additional ordinance sponsored by Sarah Brown, and I would entertain a motion to allow those two ordinances to be presented this evening.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to allow the reading of those two ordinances. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Also, I would entertain a motion to dispense with the audible reading of the transfers.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to dispense with the audible reading of the transfers. Any discussion? All in favor of those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there any discussion or any other changes that need to be made to the agenda in its entirety? Okay. With the changes presented and motioned and voted on, roll call vote to approve the final agenda.
Quorum.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Page.
Yes.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes and financials.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes and financials. Any discussion? All in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Takes us down to county judges' comments. I'd just like to congratulate Carol Cruz. She's not here this evening because she's on maternity leave. And I know some of her staff is enjoying an evening at a Blake Shelton concert. So she's on call in case we need her. So I hope she's enjoying her time bonding with her new baby. Mom and baby are both doing fantastic. Do we have any committees that would like to address the Quorum Court, or any department heads that would like to address the Quorum Court? We had a couple of budget meetings. Nikki, would you like to catch the full court up to speed on the budget meetings?
Okay, we've had, it feels like more than two, but we've only had two that were just kind of long. Our first one was regarding levelized pay. We did discuss in that beyond levelized pay, that was our first round of discussion with the Sheriff's Office and their ARP proposals. And so that ultimately ended up in us scheduling a separate ARP meeting. But the levelized pay meeting, basically it was just an opening meeting to kind of do very initial brainstorming and ideas on how we could potentially move forward with that. We don't have another one on that scheduled yet, but we are working on it, and that will be scheduled fairly soon. As far as the ARP meeting, you'll see several ordinances tonight that were basically moved from the Budget Committee onto the full Quorum Court for discussion and potentially approval. Some of the big things that were discussed were the Sheriff's Office /detention ARP requests. We did a long review of the funds on hand, what's been spent. It was a very detailed meeting. And again, there are some ordinances that have been passed along for the full court's review, along with an ordinance regarding the courthouse remodel project, which was actually an old project that was approved in the initial ARP meetings. So don't right now anticipate any more ARP fund meetings at the moment. I think we've kind of got that sorted out, but we will be moving along with the levelized pay.
Any discussion on Nikki's presentation? Okay. Court, do you have any questions or comments for any of the departments or elected officials that are here? Okay, we'll move along on our agenda. Our next item is the 2021 audit report. And I would entertain a motion to accept the 2021 audit.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the 2021 audit. As far as discussion, Tammy, would you like to tell the court about our finding?
Okay. We have extra money in our bank account, and I inherited that balance. And I have been working for 2 years to figure out what it is with the audit. AOC's helped some. I've got the balance down now to 11,509.6. The funds are unidentified. I can link them. I know who they need to be paid to. Some are to city, some are to DFA. But the auditor will not let me pay those unless I can link them back to the receipt, which would be the ticket that they were written on. I mean, it's really complicated, but I don't see why I just can't pay them. Because I think they're owed the money. Debbie and I discussed it when we switched over to Context, which is our new program. Some of the cases weren't built right. Some of the people from Conway built some of the cases. And AOC's already told me some of those weren't right, and that could have caused the problem. And in some of the switching over, and I just think there's a glitch in Context somewhere that's not attaching those receipts to that money. I think if I had the time, which I don't, because some days I don't even look up, but if I could go back through 16 all the way up to now, I think we could figure it out. And I've asked AOC to send somebody. Judge Carnahan has suggested maybe we find retired an accountant that maybe we could hire for some contract labor for a couple weeks and ask them to help. But we're going to get this fixed this year because I don't like it being in there and I want to get rid of it. But you know, we can't figure it out. The auditor says they don't really know where it's coming from, but it's there.
Any questions for Tammy? We, of course, we get audited by legislative audit every year, and to have one finding in our county is pretty good. You know, last year we didn't have a finding at all, and sometimes the law of averages just catches up with us because we're human, and we find a mistake here or there. There are honest mistakes and dishonest mistakes. And we should never, ever accept a dishonest mistake. But when they're honest like this, we accept them, we learn from them, and we end up on the other side of it better than we began because we have a problem against. That's kind of what happened here. So any more discussion before we vote to approve?
No. 22nd of December is when it's good to, right? 22nd of December?
Yes.
What page shows what our balance was? Our reserve and our general funds and all that?
It's in there. I'm not sure exactly which page.
Page 10 has your general.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
And so you'll see budget, actual, and the difference in those.
Down at the bottom?
Well, you'll see, like up here, where you'll see the revenues
Okay.
came in, and then expenditures. So basically, it just accounts for that year of. It shows what came in and what went out. Now, as far as a balance, we get, that would be more of like Misty's report that she sends us monthly. I'm sure there was a balance at the time of this report, but John, does that help you with seeing the revenues and the expenditures, or
No, I just don't know what the balance was.
when this was made?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in here. Let's see.
This was as of December 31st, 2021, because we always
Oh,
audit.
Right.
Oh,
We
okay.
audited a year behind, so 2022's budget was actually budgeted. It was an audit of year 2021. Any other discussion? All in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Brings us up to new business, and our first ordinance is sponsored by Nikki Brown.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, An ordinance to transfer funds from line number 9999 and 1002 salaries part-time to line 1001 salaries full-time and other line items in personal services for the county library budget number 3008-600 and to reestablish a full-time position. Whereas the amounts are to reflect the 2022 budget amounts for those line items as approved by the Budget Committee for 2023, and whereas a full-time position needs to be reestablished as administrative assistant, and whereas the hourly rate will be $12 per hour at no hourly increase. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, $39,869.60 be transferred from line number 1002, salaries part-time, to number 1001, salaries full-time. $9,904.80 be transferred from line number 9999 to 1001, salaries full-time. $757.72 be transferred from line item 9999 to 1006, Social Security. $1,517.41 be transferred from line item 9999 to 1008, retirement. $7,661.97 be transferred from line item 9999 to 1009, health insurance. $15.54 be transferred from number 9999 to 1010, workman's comp. 74 cents to be transferred from line item 9999 to 1014, Cobra. $54.72 to be transferred from line item 9999 to 1016, life insurance. Section 2, full-time position be reestablished at $12 per hour for an administrative assistant. I move we approve as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
So this ordinance this is what was approved by the Budget Committee. And these line item totals were supposed to be what they are being moved back to. But the numbers were different, and so this ordinance, the Budget Committee had approved that the library's budget be the same as the previous year exactly. And so all this is doing is just following through on that.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
2023-16.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Sarah Brown.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to transfer $116,750.52 into the ARPA Revenue Replacement Fund number 1006-103 for the year of 2022. Whereas by ordinance number 0-2022-32, $233,501.06 was appropriated for the heat and air system for the courthouse and was paid from county general line item number 1108-4003, improvements other than buildings. And whereas the first payment of $116,750.54 was paid from county general to the second payment of $116,750.54 was paid from the ARPA replacement fund number 1006 in error. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that $116,750.54 be transferred from county general line item 1000-108-4003, improvements and other than buildings, back to the ARPA replacement fund line item 1006-103 for the year 2022. I make a motion to approve this written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion?
I have one
Yes.
correction. The APRA is ARPA. in the last line.
Okay. Is there a motion to amend?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend to correct the spelling of ARPA from APRA in the on the bottom line of the ordinance. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any more discussion on the ordinance?
Yeah, I'd like to know, explain what happened here.
One of the payments came out of county general or the ARPA fund instead of county general. And it wasn't,
You're paying back there.
yeah, that, yes.
Wait a minute,
2022.
I thought we passed an ordinance to do that. There was an emergency down there.
We did. It just got paid on accident, is my understanding. Half out of one account and half out of the other. We did pass an emergency ordinance to pay it out of. Is that correct, Pam? It's just,
Yes.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
2023-17.
The next ordinance is sponsored by Mike Bradford.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance number 2022-58, the annual operating budget for 2023 to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $88,793.95 from the 2022 carryover and $168,211.24 anticipated revenue from the treasurer into the local Assistant Tribal Consistency Fund, LATC, number 1007-103. Whereas $88,793.95 is the carryover amount from the 2022 that will need to be appropriated into Fund number 1007 to cover the cost of bonuses given to county employees in 2023. And whereas $168,211.24 is the county treasurer's anticipated revenue amount for 2023. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that the following be appropriated into the line items shown below. 1007-103-1001, salaries full-time, $64,589.87. 1007-103-1002, salaries part-time, $9,884.62. 1007-103-1006, Social Security, $5,905.80. 1007-103-1008, retirement, $6,373.12. 1007-103-9999, $170,251.78. I'll make a motion we approve this as read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call
So
vote.
this is the amount paid to the workers. This last year and this year.
Just this year.
Just this year.
Because that's a split between the payment they got in December and so it had to. And then the other 168 is what we anticipate getting in this year.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2023-18.
The next ordinance is sponsored by Becky Page.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance O-2022-58, the annual operating budget for 2023, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $77,379.23 into Fund Number 3513, Special Revenue for the Van Buren County Senior Citizen AEDC grant for equipment, etc. Whereas the Van Buren County Treasurer received $43,783.07 on 3/6/2023 that was to be spent within 3 days, and whereas an additional $33,596.16 will be received in 2023, and whereas these monies are to be used for kitchen equipment such as hot food station, freezer, dishwasher, gas range, and vent hood, etc. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that 1, a fund be created for the Senior Citizen AEDC grant number 3513-103 Special Revenue Fund, and 2, $77,379.23 be appropriated into the newly created fund number 3513-103-4004, machinery and equipment and other vehicles. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
This go to all of the centers? Or just individual?
The one in Clinton.
Where's this money from?
It came from a federal grant.
So we're just putting it in so they can raise.
Correct.
Didn't Scotland ask for some here all back too?
I think so.
Did they get it?
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2023-19.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Nikki Brown and David Holcomb. I'll let y'all fight for who reads it.
Nikki, you did all that other so well. I really shouldn't do that to you, should I?
I don't know, David. I'm looking forward to doing all these line items. Okay, I guess there's no way around it. Gotta read them.
Well, I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules to entertain this ordinance by title only.
I make the motion. I'll bet you out on that one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules for the purpose of entertaining this ordinance by title only. Any discussion? Getting tough time. Roll call vote for suspension.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Oh.
Wait. You want some discussion? You have some discussion.
Discussion for the rule suspension.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
I'm still a yes.
Proceed with the vote.
are we ready?
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips, Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Okay. So, Nikki, would you care to read this ordinance by title only?
I'd be happy to. Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance, Ordinance 2022-58, the annual operating budget for 2023, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $1,999.01 into the County General Fund 1,000, and to correct all line items to the original amounts in each office and fund. I move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Now we can discuss. Esther, the floor is yours.
Yes. I'd like to have this explained to me.
This is when we done the budget process, I was trying to help the budget committee, but I would prorate the utilities and phone and put in there some needed more, some needed less. But this is putting it all back like it was, like everyone asked for.
So this is to keep, during budget time, our budgets like we put them in and not changed.
Yes, that will be that way. Even though when I did this, I sent an email, and I've got copies of emails I sent to all the budget committee. So nothing was done in private. Nothing was changed for any bad reason. And copies were also given at each budget meeting.
I'm not saying that it's done, but I have to be, that I do, that it has to be clarified that there's just no way to go through the budget and they present and then we mark it done and we put it aside as done. I would never check beyond that next meeting. I would check it, but after that there would be no reason to check for changes in one that was already approved. So I feel like I do have to clarify that as receiving things, emails and things like that. Once it's been approved, I wouldn't be looking for changes that I wouldn't know to look for, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of copies and papers, and so I know it was hard.
So this is short on these departments, shortage.
In aggregate, yes. Right, to what they was initially approved.
Yes. We already had an ordinance to change the district court back $100. Is that?
That's part of this.
Okay, it's adjusted in here already. You already put it back, and then this is right. This is right now. It's the same as.
Yes.
Okay. I know we had the ordinance to do that. So.
What's this $2,000 or $1,900 going to do to our balanced budget? If you don't throw our budget out of balance?
Well, this appropriates more money to balance it. And when we initially went through the process, it would have been this total that we thought that we were approving, if that makes sense.
This will be around, Misty, you might correct me if I'm wrong, but around $30,000 over your anticipated revenue or projections.
Yes, actually, I think it's higher than that after everything that they have projected, like January and February.
Okay, so I'm sorry, explain that.
When we did budget, we met budget at that time, but after y'all added the money in January and February that you added back to the budget, is actually over projection.
That we've added, I'm not understanding that, I'm sorry, that we've added back?
Yeah, Pam, do you have what was added in the January and February offhand?
Well, let's, we're talking about two different things here. Let's keep our discussion to the ordinance at hand. We're talking, what you're bringing up are changes that were made in January and February that don't impact this budget at all, or this ordinance. Now, to answer John's question about what does this do, I added these, what the department heads turned in on their worksheets, and what this is adjusting to is a difference of $1,250.99. Actually, the way it washes out is to the good. But that's, back to what Misty was saying, the overage or whatever, that's how easy it is when you have a healthy budget and you have a good reserve fund that you can use to fall back on, because you can plug the difference with the reserve in your fund.
That's about as clear as mud.
Well,
So, let me read the.
No, I'm first.
Okay.
Because I spoke first. Is it better to do this or not to do this?
what that, like, to speak to what Dale, that's a whole different, what Misty's talking about is completely different than this right now.
Yes, but is doing this better?
Well, I think, I think it needs to be what the budget, what we thought we were approving.
So we should go back to the beginning numbers that were put in there.
This is supposed to do that. This is supposed to correct all the things that were changed. That were, so if you came in and you asked for 300 and ultimately you only got 200,
Okay.
you're supposed to get that's your budget. If they end up being short or over, then they come and they talk to us instead of coming and talking to us when the number was changed for them. That's their budget, their responsibility.
So to accept this is to go back to their original number.
Their original, that we
And
originally
got
approved.
And let me be clear, the reason that these were prorated is during the budget session, y'all do go over each budget and then put it aside and say, okay. But I have an email here where I sent y'all that County General was over at the time by 243,000. I can't see that. And that's when I go back and do this. And then I send y'all emails.
Yes, but at that point, usually we don't know. We had to wait for, we don't know insurance totals. We don't know tax totals. There's all this information that we don't have. So we have to wait on the projection. We have to wait on all these things. But we don't have this information. And so we have to start working without it. And so when numbers change like that, we anticipate it because we think it's insurance or taxes or all those things that we can't figure. There would be no way for us to know that. That's information that we didn't know the insurance number until almost the end of the cycle because we had to pick the plan and all those things.
Yeah, because this email was December the 1st.
When you take all these figures right here, and some of them are more and some of them are less, and you figure it all out, it's $2,000.
$1,200.
And Dale is saying that he's added that and it's different. So if that's the incorrect total at the top, then we need to amend it.
Well, I just added all the numbers, and some are up, some are down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we think of that, some are up, some are down. There's really no.
Whoops.
1,200 is a little different than 2,000. Does that need to be changed?
Probably not. I don't know where that came. This is just I didn't write this ordinance. I had nothing to do with it. That was just my adding and subtracting on the budget or on the changes.
Well, I don't want to put them back and something be off. If there's something that's been, should we table and redo? They're not going to run out of money. We're only in the third month. So I want to make sure it's right, and I don't want to do it again, if that makes sense. David, you were on this one too. So do you?
The reason that I spoke to Pam after Judge Carnegie came in, and basically what he was saying was that he was budgeting, and I may have this number wrong, for $200 and it showed up $100. And he wanted the numbers not to change. And so this ordinance puts everything back in the budget that you guys put together in December exactly the way that it was presented that you voted on. That's what these numbers put back. And so basically what it comes down to, and I spoke to Pam, I said the easiest thing here, Pam, don't change the numbers. Did we not have that conversation? And she said, well, I promise you I won't change another number. And that's the conversation, because if you remember when he spoke, I said, there's some things that just need to be said in private that doesn't need to be said. Y'all remember me saying that? And he said, well, everything needs to be said in public. Well, I'm saying it in public. I had a conversation with her about changing numbers. And these right here go back to the numbers originally so that nothing now will be changed. And that's why that I want to be on this, because she's putting it back exactly the way that the Budget Committee presented it to you.
And I had the same conversation, not with David, with me.
And I didn't even know that you had that conversation.
Now we're back. We're mandated to have a balanced budget by 31 December, right? And maintain a balanced budget.
We have that.
I see where some goes out of balance. I don't know.
And my problem is, when you add this up, the number is not $2,000.
We're not, well, Judge Carnahan, we're mandated to meet his budget from the year before. He explained that very well to us. But some of them we're not mandated, so to get a balanced budget.
We're going to have a balanced budget, the way I see it.
Well, again, we're going to have, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
I think we're getting off in the weeds a little bit.
Yeah, we are. That's just going to talk about our budget.
Yeah, this will put it back to what we voted on, which was our established budget. Our established budget for the year. Puts it back to the exact same numbers of the budget that we voted on in the Quorum Court meeting in December.
Yeah.
We need more discussion. Roll call.
So it's yes for going back to the original numbers.
Yes approves this document as presented.
Okay.
Holcomb?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Lemmings?
Yes.
Bass?
No.
O 2023-20.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by David Holt.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an emergency ordinance to be entitled, an emergency ordinance to amend ordinance 2019-08 concerning the normal work period for law enforcement and to change the employee handbook. Whereas in 2019, by ordinance 2019-08, work hours for law enforcement were changed from 171 hours in a 28 consecutive workday period to a 40-hour work week period. And whereas due to law enforcement schedules and hours worked, it's imperative that the work hours be changed to 86 hours in a 14 consecutive workday period upon passage and publication of this ordinance. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that law enforcement work hours be changed from a 7-day work period with 40 hours to a 14-day work period with 86 hours. The first 14-day work period shall begin on March 10th, 2023. The employee handbook reflects the changes of 86 hours and a 14 consecutive work period on page 16, section 5, employee classification, attendance and compensation D, article 5. The ordinance being necessary for the protection and preservation of public health and safety, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be enforced and shall take effect upon its passage and publication. I move that it be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
David, can you I'm a little bit familiar with it, but as far as how it impacts overtime, can you just clarify a little bit?
Yeah, so right now, the comp time they're accumulating a lot of comp time. And so with the staff that our sheriff's department has, they'll never be able to use it, and so ultimately they'll lose it. Now, as of Friday, I believe the sheriff's office started taking on patrol of the parks. And so their hours are going to increase. And so in order for that to work into their schedule, they need this 14-day. There's an exemption in the FLSA, 207K. And this fits in the labor law for law enforcement.
Okay.
So let me pause just a second. Ethan and I have spoke at length about this. Ethan, did I explain that anywhere remotely close?
Fairly close.
I'll take fairly close.
You did a good job.
Yeah, you did awesome.
Federal code, I think it's 553-233 or 5, I think is that, or 203. It gives an exemption for law enforcement, ambulances, and fire department. And each of those entities gets so many hours per so many days, and it gives a chart. And law enforcement can go all the way up to a 28-day pay period at 171 hours, or they can. There are certain different variables within that, and I kind of like the way that this is drawn. I like that it's still on a 80-hour pay period, and you help with at 46 hours, which is by the book. So I looked it up and verified it.
If there's any, Ethan is, guys, if y'all had to visit with him, he is a sharp young man, and I have learned a lot by listening to him and what he researches and what he asks for. I would really like for Ethan to take a moment to speak to this if there's anything that would help with that. So if you want to, Ethan.
If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If I have to step out for a second, I apologize. I'm waiting on a phone call back. We've got a situation going on right now. So
what about, you got to go get the Corps officer this year?
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to do it? Not going to be more comp time.
Can you explain what was happening with the...
Okay, yeah. So here's just a good example I've been using. 40-hour work week. And let's say we work 44 hours one week and we work 36 hours the next. The way it's currently set up, that's still 80 hours in a 2-week period. The way it's currently set up, that employee would still earn 2 hours of comp time, even though we allowed them to take off 4 hours the following week to try to make up for it because they're earning it at the rate of time and a half.
Because they're earning more than 40 hours a week.
Yes.
They're accruing more than 40.
So the FLSA exemption basically allows you to calculate your time over a 14-day, or you can go up to a 28-day, but I would rather stay on 14-day because it falls with how everyone else gets paid, a 14-day period. Where if you work over 40 hours in that week, as long as you don't the next week, then you're still staying in that 80 hours.
What really got me then was what you said about weekends off, that they were having to take their comp time for weekends off. Would you address that?
Yeah, so something our deputies have wanted for a couple of years now is to work 12-hour shifts. That's just kind of the normal in law enforcement now. Just about every agency around us does it. The reason why is because it allows everyone to have every other weekend off. The way we used to do our scheduling, I worked for 10 years and never had a weekend off unless I took vacation. I mean, that's just how it was. Because we work 24/7, 300, we have around-the-clock coverage. Weekends, holidays, doesn't matter.
And by passing this ordinance, it allows our guys to have every other weekend off. And I don't know about you, but time home with family is equally important.
Ethan, this has been a problem for years.
Yes.
It has.
Is law enforcement, the guys that you've got, are they aware of this? I don't want to pass something because this is a touchy situation, and it's hard to satisfy.
I agree.
Esther, to touch on that, when I came into office, I asked all our law enforcement guys, what do you want? Do you want to work a 8-hour shift, a 10-hour shift, or a 12-hour shift? And the consensus was everybody wanted 12 hours. They've asked for them. They've begged for it for years. And so apparently I'm the only one that said, okay, Ethan's good with numbers. He makes the schedules. If you can make it happen, then if you can work it with the number of people we have, go ahead. I approve it. So
as long as they're aware of it.
Yeah, we asked all of them.
This has been a big problem for years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everything's going to be covered 24/7.
Yes.
Yes, My last question.
That's exactly the shift, the way we work at MIMS is I work this weekend, just happens to be my weekend to work. I work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be off Monday, Tuesday. I'll work Wednesday, Thursday, and then I'll be off the next weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And there's a 12-hour day shift, a 12-hour night shift, and you have shift 1 and shift 2. So, of course, the ambulance has got to be 24-hour coverage, so it's the same exact same thing.
But our guys shouldn't be taking comp time to take a weekend off. That shouldn't be happening.
No, and what I like about that shift is what I did this last week. I took Monday and Tuesday off. Gave me a week off. Take 2 days and you're off a week.
Yeah.
So it was pretty nice.
I wasn't in here when you read the ordinance. Did you read the revised one that I sent to AAC that they sent back?
Yes.
So one thing I do want to just clarify about this. When that says 86-hour work period, that means if they work 86 hours, they're paid straight time for 86 hours. So I don't want anyone to think we're trying to sneak something through with that not being clear. I've talked with Brandy McAllister from AAC a couple times over this. She's caught me up to speed on all the labor laws. Like I said, when I saw the ordinance, I sent it to her. She sent it back, so I suggest you make these changes, and that's where we're at.
Brandy's pretty amazing.
Yes.
She knows her stuff. Any more discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Roll call vote.
Holcomb?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Lemmings?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.
2023-21.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Virgil Lemmings.
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, the State of Arkansas, appropriation ordinance to be entitled Appropriation Ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance 2022-58, the annual operating budget for 2023, and to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $500,000 into County General Reserve number 1001 and transfer and appropriate the sum from General Reserve to County General line item number 1000. Whereas it has been approved by the Budget Committee to complete certain construction projects at the detention center due to safety reasons. And whereas a quote was given by Electronic Contracting Company Incorporated, ECC, to repair and install locking system on doors, install cameras, and intercom in the jail of $320,1113.30. And whereas a quote was given by C. Clayton Homes for the delivery and setup of a CDI building of $154,977.09. And whereas a quote was given by Relativity Incorporated for evidence and reporting software of $17,800. Whereas bids will be taken as required. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, Arkansas, that Section 1, $500,000 be appropriated into General Reserve number 1001-103-9999. Section 2, $500,000 will be transferred from General Reserve number 1001-103-9999 and appropriated into County General number 1000-418-4006, construction in progress for the projects listed above. I move that we approve this as written.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Discussion.
I'm totally in support of the ordinance. I think that it may need to be amended. My thinking is that these three projects add up to $492,890.39, and it's not a significant difference, and I understand the money's not going to disappear, but it's hard to get to the number, and it would keep it a lot cleaner to be able to track back to this, to put it at the exact number. I don't know why we would just do 500,000 really. So I would amend that all the 500,000s be replaced with the exact total of $492,890.39.
That's a motion, correct?
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to amend the ordinance to change the total of the ordinance.
Can you say that one more time? 492.
890, 39 cents.
And 39 cents.
Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Back to discussion on the ordinance. Any more discussion?
Yeah. Where's this money coming?
ARP.
ARP. Now, it's confusing because some of the ARP money was in the reserve and some of it's still in the funds. Okay, so those numbers over there were how we were getting to what has been. So there are some projects that were approved and they're done and they're paid out. There's other projects that are in progress. So maybe half the total has been paid. And so it's very complicated to get to the number with it being in two different accounts. And so part of this is the amount that it was in reserve. Basically, we're spending that right now.
That's that COVID money.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It got moved from ARP to reserve through payroll. If you remember. Good discussion. Any more discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah, yes, Philip,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Lenny,
Yes.
Matt. 2023-22.
Thank you. Next ordinance is sponsored by John Bradford.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance 2022-58, the annual operating budget for 23, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $86,114 into the County General Reserve 1001, and to transfer and appropriate the sum from the General Reserve to County General number 1000. Whereas there is construction work to be completed for the courthouse, and whereas bids will be taken before beginning as required. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, $86,114,000 be appropriated into the General Reserve 1001-103-9,999. Section 2, $86,114 be transferred from the General Reserve 1001-103-9,999 to County General 1000-108-4006, construction in progress. I move this ordinance be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. And for discussion, Nikki, I'll let you start it off to explain it.
Okay. So when we were working through the ARP funds and what our actual balance is, we've been working with these funds for over a couple years now, and the Sheriff's Office had came with their request, and we were trying to figure out the best way to proceed. One thing that came up was the Tribal Assistance Fund, which was in a previous ordinance that we talked about tonight. We got $186,000 roughly last year, which we used to pay out bonuses to the employees. We are supposed to get an additional $168,000 this year, and that money is, it's not something that we had banked on. It was another bonus check that we got, if you want to call it that. When we were talking through the Sheriff's Office proposals, they have some equipment that they need that could be supplied through a grant that they are going to be applying for, but that grant doesn't open until July. We'll still need a supplement, and my head's full of stuff. It's a body cam, correct? Which will eventually be mandated that we'll have to buy anyways. So this is an opportunity. So basically, we were going to we discussed taking $50,000 from the tribal fund so that they would be able to get their body cams with the assistance of the grant. Then Debbie, the courthouse project that was originally, the courthouse project started before the ARP ever came into account. So, Debbie, how long would you say? 3 years ago?
She said 6.
You said 6. Okay.
7.
Okay. Debbie's office is still not fixed. And let me give you an example of the other day I went to report a deed and I'm in there and I'm recognizing that there's no flooring. Debbie's office is an office where people of the county, the 17,000 people, go to do their business, to record their deeds, to serve jury duty, to do all those things. So they actually use those facilities, and it is not up to standard. And Debbie's been waiting a long time. She got a bid, and this would cover the costs of doing that entirely. We did discuss using 309s where we could and all those things, but what this is doing is appropriating it into reserve from general, which would then be replaced with the travel fund when it came in. Misty has explained that we can't label it that way, but that is our plan. I mean, so it doesn't go on to detail that out.
It also fits the courthouse, not just Debbie's office. It's the courthouse.
No, it's the courthouse. Yeah.
Right. It's major overhaul of the
major overhaul. Yes. And Debbie can speak to the details of that. But
well, the other issue too that you guys talked about is the immediacy of this needing to be done. The travel funds may be November, December, and Debbie's been waiting for 6 years, 7 years, whatever. It's time to get it done. And so this allows this to be done now, not in 2024.
Correct.
Very good discussion. Any questions or further discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah? Yes. Phillips?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Lemmings?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.
2023-23.
Thank you. The next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Mary Phillips.
Thank you, by the way. I appreciate it. Okay. Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an emergency ordinance to be entitled, an emergency ordinance to ratify employees' accumulated time and benefits in the 911 department, number 3020-501. Whereas the Quorum Court unanimously passed Resolution R 2022-54 on December the 15th, 2022, whereby responsibility for 911 was transferred from the city of Fairfield Bay to Van Buren County, and 911 employees were accepted as county employees effective midnight, January 1, 2023. And whereas, pursuant to this resolution, the Quorum Court resolved that each respective 911 employee's accumulated compensatory time, years of service, sick time, or earned time would convey from Fairfield Bay to Van Buren County. And whereas 911 employees relied upon the representations contained in Resolution R 2022-54 when they transferred their employment to Van Buren County. And whereas the effect of Resolution R 2022-54 has been questioned and might be subject to legal challenge because it was not passed as an ordinance. And whereas there is a need to ratify the status of 911 employees' accumulated time and benefits in the form of an ordinance reflecting the clear and obvious attempt of the Quorum Court. And whereas this ordinance being necessary for the protection and preservation of public health and safety, an emergency is hereby declared to exit, and this ordinance shall be enforced and shall take effect upon passage and publication. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1. Employees of 911 became Van Buren County employees at midnight, January 1, 2023. Section 2. Effective midnight, January 1, 2023, 911 employees' compensatory time conveyed to the county as is from Fairfield Bay. Section 3. Effective midnight, January 1, 2023, 911 employees' years of service conveyed to the county from Fairfield Bay for all purposes, such as for vacation time accrual. Section 4. Effective midnight, January 1, 2023, 911 employees' accumulated sick time conveyed to the county from Fairfield Bay. Section 5. Effective midnight, January 1, 2023, all time earned and banked while a 911 employee worked at Fairfield Bay conveyed to the county. Section 6. 911 employees' years of service for APERS purposes shall begin January 1, 2023. Section 7. On the next business day following passage of this ordinance, the Van Buren County Clerk or her designee shall verify all employee accumulated time or benefits that are conveyed pursuant to this ordinance from the city of Fairfield Bay. If the Van Buren County Clerk is unable to comply with this ordinance due to the unavailability or lack of cooperation of the city of Fairfield Bay, the Van Buren County Clerk shall file a written report of her efforts to attain this information with the county court. Section 8. Upon verification pursuant to the above section, the Van Buren County Clerk or her designee shall prepare a document confirming accumulated time or benefits for each employee that transferred employment from the city of Fairfield Bay. Section 9. The Van Buren County Clerk or her designee shall tender the document prepared pursuant to the above section to each transferring employee within 2 business days of receipt of confirmation from the city of Fairfield Bay and request signature confirmation from the affected employee. Section 10. If the transferring employee disputes the accumulated time or benefits transferred pursuant to the tendered document, the employee shall file a grievance pursuant to the Van Buren County Personnel Policy. Section 11. It is imperative that county 911 operations continue smoothly, efficiently, and effectively, and therefore this ordinance being necessary for the protection and preservation of public health and safety, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and shall take effect upon passage and publication. I move we accept this ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
We've already gotten the time from the...
Yeah, and I talked to the city of Fairfield Bay, and she confirmed everything was correct. And we do this like this ordinance already, but and I had put it in my email, the thing that we need to know is they get their vacation time according to how many years they've been there. What we need to know is when do we get it to give it to them on their original hire date at Fairfield Bay or January 1.
Can I say something? Okay, so the issue that the employees, the 911 employees are having is that we have not been paid our accrued 2022 vacation or sick time. We normally were we accrued it 1 year and were paid on the 1st. Now the totals that I gave Pam were the totals that were carryover, and I did not put the accrual on there. But we are due vacation and sick time from the beginning January 1st, and this is for accrued time from 2022.
I went over and over this because it was, Judy kept saying, and this is what really confused me, It doesn't take much, but that they were always paid on the first
For their vacation.
for their vacation and what they were due. And then it dawned on me that nobody is paid the first day that they are hired, and that they were paid on the first because they are lacking payment for the year 2022. And that was to be paid on the first day of 2023.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what they're due. They are due the 2022 for vacation and or anything else that was missing. And another thing that those papers that you sent us, their back date for employee was supposed to be their beginning date with Fairfield Bay.
Yes, that's on here.
And the one that I had, or maybe it was an early one, but it was 1/1/23.
Well, it has hire date with Van Buren County 1/1/2023, but the hire date for Fairfield Bay is
Okay,
up there
maybe I
in
was
the
looking in the
middle.
wrong spot. Okay.
So,
And that hire date for Van Buren County is just for our records.
Okay. But they are to be thought of as from their hire date from Fairfield Bay.
So why are we having to pay 2022 when they were not employees of Van Buren County in 2022?
Pam, who paid 911? Van Buren County or Fairfield Bay? Where did the money come from?
We had a contract with 911.
Okay.
So they would bill us, and then Van Buren County paid.
So it's still getting billed through it, and it's just part of the catching
Van
up
Buren
on that.
County was paying it anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
So another question. This R22 2022-54. I don't remember that language being in the about all of this conveying over in that ordinance. Do we have a copy of that?
Where?
The ordinance
he's talking about the original resolution.
December 15th, we passed the ordinance.
Yes.
For them to become members. Do we have a copy of that?
I do.
Resolution.
I do.
I'd like to have it read because I don't remember that language being conveyed in there. And
I do. I did.
I looked at it earlier. I can dig through my bag and while she looks. And if nothing else, someone can go print it off because I think it's important for people to see.
so you read it?
Yes.
It does
Yes, I have yes, that language is in there, but I think it is important that everyone see that resolution that was filed because there have been issues about 911 that were not clear. This one was crystal clear on what we said we were going to do. Mm-hmm. And it was written. I don't even understand really where the question is coming in, but I guess it needs to be clarified with an ordinance. And the way that I read that, Virgil, 100% that's what we told them that we were going to do. And but I do think it's important if Mary doesn't have a copy that she can pass around that we get it printed out so everybody can see it to make sure that,
I know I have a copy. It's just where it's hiding.
I'll tell you what, do we want to just take a break? Because we have a couple more resolutions. We've been going for an hour. And I'll go print it off and make copies for everyone.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
10-minute break. We'll call the meeting back to order and we'll resume discussion. And I made a lot of copies of that resolution, but Mary, would you care to reread that resolution that was passed in December, please?
Okay. Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution to acknowledge the employees of 911 as county employees and to convey their accumulated time and benefits. Whereas Van Buren County 911 employees have in the past been contracted through the city of Fairfield Bay, and whereas the decision has been made to make the employees of 911 county employees, and whereas there is a need to convey their accumulated time and benefits. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas that 1. Employees of 911 shall become employees of Van Buren County at midnight, January 1, 2023. 2. Employees' compensatory time shall convey to the county as is from Fairfield Bay. 3. Employees' years of service shall convey to the county from Fairfield Bay for all purposes such as for vacation time accrual. 4. Employees' accumulated sick time shall convey to the county from Fairfield Bay. 5. All time earned and banked while the employees worked at Fairfield Bay shall convey to the county. 6. The employees' years of service for APERS purposes shall begin January 1, 2023. 7. Every effort shall be made to provide a seamless transition from Fairfield Bay to the county.
And that's the resolution that was passed.
December 15th.
So I have a question. I mean, I'm all for them getting paid what they recruited. They recruited, earned it even. However, I'm wondering, since they are now county employees, and I this very clearly states all time banks should be conveyed to the county. However, as a former member of the Personnel Policy Committee, I know that our handbook says that there is an allotted amount of hours that you cannot go over. Are any of the employees, do any of the employees have over that allotted amount of hours? Anyone answer?
Yes, we lost some sick. All we lost sick.
How much?
I was about, I think we had 265 and we lost down to 192.
Okay, so it's not, that's a substantial amount, but it's not. And I'm not saying that I don't think she should get it. I just don't know how to work that out, because I do think that we need to be compliant with our personnel policy.
We are going to have a meeting as soon as Carol is back.
Okay, so I don't know that this doesn't need to be tabled. I want it to be legal, I guess, in other words. And if the hours are over the amount of what's listed in our handbook, then I don't know that it...
I'll tell you where we are, though, if we table this. We're already into March. First quarter's gone. We've got vacations, we've got time off that needs to be scheduled and started to take, or we're not going to have enough coverage to cover 911 if we start having to cram all these months of vacations and time off into the remainder of the year. So even if you went back and did something that retro-dated with some sick time, we may have to do that in the future, but there really is an urgency to figure out now what needs to be done.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. I just want everything to be on the up and up, and I know that there are employees in the past, several, that have had to forego that time if they didn't use it. That's what happens, unfortunately, whether I agree with it or not.
So what's the legality of that? Changing our handbook. I mean, it's written in our handbook, and then we're moving past that.
So the only thing that is of any discrepancy is the sick time, correct? And nothing else is open.
Well, as of now, I don't know how vacation works with them.
Right.
Which vacation time, to me, I mean, you earn that. But as far as sick time,
well, I mean,
we have a cap on it.
I think that going forward, they are following the handbook, and that this could be addressed at a personnel committee meeting. If there needs to be clarifications on that. My big issue is how many of these ordinances tonight were on things that were already decided. that we decided on, that we voted on. And we are here again. Like, these weren't committees. These were passed by.
So I think on this one here, Nikki, the question is the legality of this. This is a resolution, and this needs to be an ordinance.
I agree.
So once this becomes an ordinance, now then we,
No, and I totally agree with putting it in there that way.
So the other thing that I have questioned is, I know that she has lost 73 hours of sick time. Am I correct? 73 hours. So as of January 1st, that means that those hours are gone. Is that correct? That's the way you interpret that? Okay. So
92 hours for next year, per the handbook.
Per the handbook.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But that conflicts what this resolution says, correct?
It does. So I would like to see us, before we say that those hours are gone, address that with the personnel committee.
I agree.
And then we can deal with this 73 hours that she has right now as of January 1st lost. I'm uncomfortable with saying sorry because you have a resolution passed. We need to figure out if there's anything that we can do, and we can't do that until we have a personnel committee with the county lawyer here. So I think that as far as her hours are concerned, you're the only one. Is that the only difference?
You're the only one on state.
Okay, so I think that we need to look at what we can do for her.
Okay, and let me be clear. My intention on standing behind this resolution is not to short her anything, is to not take away anything that she shouldn't lose. You know, that is it is not that, oh, we need to confirm that she lost that. I'm coming from a place of like, you know, if there's a situation where they're included to be on probation, that's wrong. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that I am advocating. So I'm on the same page on that. Right. I just don't want like someone is being counted as they're on. I want to make sure that those issues, like they shouldn't be on probation for 6 months because they were supposed to come over. Those are the issues that I'm concerned with.
I think you and I are saying the same thing in different ways, but what we also are facing is the same issue that Ethan was facing. If people start taking vacation time and all that, there's not going to be enough coverage to cover the responsibilities of 911. So this is going to have to get resolved sooner than later. But I think there's two issues that's before us tonight. Number one is turning this resolution into an ordinance. That's what Mary read to us, and that's what we're discussing. The other issue is what Judy brought before us about them getting paid for what was carried over or whatever. I'm using the wrong word. Accrued for 2022. That's not in this ordinance. So that issue still stands and needs to be resolved as well. So I don't know the proper way to do that, but they are owed that, and they need to be paid that. And in my account, we are 2.5 months behind on getting them their money.
Okay, but before we go any further, I want to educate myself a little bit better. On your sick time, how is that accrued? Is that the same as comp time?
No.
Okay.
It was that I couldn't take sick time, or I didn't call in work sick. I came to work.
Okay.
It was like 6 hours.
She's been here a long time. It's 4 or 6 hours every pay period is how you accumulate. So
it's kind of earned because I didn't call it
right.
sick.
And that's really a catch-22 because you don't. I mean,
what happens at that at the end of the year? What happened to that at the end of the year there?
Where I couldn't, or I.
Yeah, how many? Was there an unlimited amount that you could carry over?
No, there was a cap on sick over there. It was just higher than what you guys are.
But if you were over that time, what happened to it?
Then you quit accruing.
And stop.
So you use it or lose it. That's the way I've heard it.
Well, it wasn't lost. You just,
yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I wanted to educate myself on that. I didn't want it to be like a comp time situation where they had to stay through snow or something like that. And I wanted to make sure it was sick, not comp.
Sure. If an employee quits, they don't get their sick time. They don't get that paid out or anything.
Another question I have is with vacation time. I agree that they need to be given their time. However, I've never heard of vacation time being paid out.
Okay, so maybe I used the wrong word. On the books.
Okay.
On the books. Not a check written.
That was throwing me too. I was like, are we paying
All right.
That sounds much better.
A lot of them have 0 vacation right now. We just need the hours on the books so we can get them their vacation.
Okay, so on the books, their vacation time did not convey.
And that's what I'm concerned.
Okay.
That's fine.
And it should
All right.
have.
Well, it should have, yeah.
It should have.
That resolution says it should
I
have.
mean, it's clear.
Everything conveyed. They have their vacation. We just need
over.
Do what?
The vacation time that they had on the sheet that Miss Judy sent.
That was remainder
It
vacation.
conveyed over to their
It
time that
did.
they have now.
We just didn't get our accrued vacation that we normally do on the first.
Well, we didn't know anything about that until tonight. But the only thing that we need to know really is they've got their vacation on the books. Okay, this year, do we need to give them more vacation time on the first or their
They
original
need to get what they didn't get from last year. From
I understand
22.
that. I understand that. But what I'm saying is they're not going to have to wait another or a year before they get a week.
No.
Or whatever.
Okay.
No.
Because January 1 they were employees. And if they were here 10 years, then they get, 3 weeks?
Uh-huh.
Do we give that to them on their original hire date from Fairfield Bay?
Yes.
Okay.
Isn't that what we decided? It would start from their original hire date.
Okay.
We had a situation kind of similar to this, so we had an employee that transferred from the sheriff's office to the Tammy's office, and we let them have their, it was a lateral move, and I know that it's Fairfield Bay employees to Van Buren County employees, but I think the verbiage is what's hanging us up, because in my mind it's still a lateral move, because we were footing the bill for the Fairfield Bay employees, if that makes any sense.
So at the January 1, you get all the vacation that you're going to get throughout the year. You get that on January 1.
Right.
It's not something that's accrued throughout the year.
Well, we accrued it last year.
Okay.
They just haven't been paid.
We just haven't got it on the books.
Okay.
Is that what you have?
Well, everything that she gave us shows on our books.
And did you give them the 20?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No, I did not.
So that just needs to be given.
The only thing that we don't have on our books is her sick time that she was over, and we just went by county personnel policy. Because the county personnel policy, that's done by ordinance, and that supersedes a resolution.
See, and I think that's an issue that needs to be worked out in committee.
Mm-hmm.
However, I see the importance of not tabling for.
So people, let's just say they have worked over at Fairfield Bay for 5 years. They are on our books as they have worked 5 years. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
The 911 people.
Right.
So that means that January 1st, I'm taking it, if I remember, that's 2 weeks vacation. Is that correct? 5 years, 2 weeks?
I think it's right here when you check our sheet.
Do what?
5 years is 80 hours.
80 hours,
Yes.
2 weeks.
Yes.
So if they took a week, then that other week still moves over, and then they get another 2 weeks because it's a new year. So that individual would have 3 weeks available to them to use in 2023. Correct?
After their hire.
Yeah.
Well-
One before and 2 after.
Yes.
Okay, by the Van Buren County policy, you take your vacation or you lose it by your hire date. So,
But I think that we're just talking about what they are coming in, like going forward, they will be treated the same. It's what they're coming on with. So,
It's
just
at
like
22.
David said, if last year they accrued 2 weeks, they took one, they get to carry it over. Because that's what we said they could do.
Yeah. And
this
for
is confusing.
Pam, for 22, do they get their, let's say they have 2 weeks coming?
From 2022?
Yep, for the year of, no, let's go for 23, next year. Does it come at the end of the year or during the year? Or they're
Van
hired?
Buren County employees, they get more vacation on their hire date.
Okay.
So every hire date, they start over again.
Okay. Okay. But we will have a personnel meeting as soon as Carol gets back. Okay?
So what are we doing the meanwhile? I just want it all to be on the up and up. I want it to be consistent with what our other employees have. However, I do understand what this resolution says and what we voted on. I don't want anybody to lose anything, but I know we've talked about being fair. I know everybody doesn't get a trophy, but I mean, we have to treat all employees the same when it comes to personnel issues, in my opinion.
I think tonight, what the ordinance and motion and second is to take this from a resolution to an ordinance. That's the task at hand. I think dealing with sick time, vacation time, hire date time, and all that, that's not in our discussion right here. That will come later. But I think that they need the assurance to hear from this court that right now, she hasn't lost that extra 73 hours. No one's lost vacation time. We're going to get that resolved in the personnel committee meeting and bring that back to how we're going to solve that. So right now, and I'm just having an opinion, okay? I don't see that you've lost that as of yet until we can take it to committee and take it before a lawyer and get that worked out. So right now, tonight, the only thing that we're deciding is changing the resolution to an ordinance. We'll work all that other out later. But that's
The
where
ordinance states sick time, accumulated sick time, conveying all that stuff.
Well, but we have to go by the manual too, and so we're kind of in a conundrum.
Yes, we are.
In other words, in plain talk, we're in a pickle.
Yeah.
Well, what we're going to do then is we're going to add her sick time back until y'all meet and decide all that.
Yes.
And then if Judy can get us the 2022 information,
Okay.
with vacation and stuff.
I think I assumed that wrongly, obviously. The weeks that we get off are the same by the year, so you just figure it however you do, but we just needed to get it on the 1st of January.
Does this concern this 911 ordinance?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Just listening to the conversation, having listened to the ordinance as presented and listening to the conversation, there is already within the resolution on the table today, there is already a mechanism by which to resolve this. But if everything transfers over on the 1st, if there's a dispute, there's a formal mechanism to put it into the system as a dispute. And if it goes into the system, you can decide how it's going to be handled. So I don't know why we've got so much discussion about it, because within the ordinance here, there's a mechanism by which to take this further into a personnel committee or budgeting committee or. Well, it's my opinion.
The mechanism that's in place is that the employee should file a grievance. That's what it said, and that's what it read. We're not to the point of needing to file a grievance because we've not even met initially over figure out how we're going to do that. Once that we do that, and if our decision is against what she needs, then she can file a grievance. So we're not even to the point of needing to file a grievance yet. We got to meet and get this thing solved.
To move this on, though, it can be treated.
This
as
is not open discussion. I mean, this is a quorum court meeting.
Sorry.
So let's, justices, do you have any further discussion?
I have something else to say. That when this was done, we had a lot of discussion, and this is an exception to the rule. The whole thing with 911 is an exception. And I kind of have an idea of kind of putting the exception into the personnel policy. Because we're not going to have a librarian that's going to come in and do the same thing. The exception was with 911. And they were already on our staff. We already were paying for them. So it was supposed to be an easy transfer. Just come on down, and we're just gonna extend everything. Okay? So we're digging up a whole lot of stuff that I think is trying to make this a whole lot harder. I mean, this is supposed to be easy. You came with all your junk? Okay, come on, Lord. And we're going to figure out where it's going to go. Okay?
So we agree that the only point of friction is a discrepancy with the sick time and how much can be accumulated, and it's actually for one individual or two. So that point of friction can be sanded out in the personnel committee, as it should be. So any more discussion on the ordinance itself?
If we pass this ordinance, we are bound by this ordinance. We're bound by whatever it says. So somebody that wants to come back and...
Then why weren't we bound by the one on 15th of December?
It's a resolution.
That's a resolution.
Resolution, Mary.
Okay. Okay. Got me.
But nonetheless, I'm sorry.
I get the different, I mean, everybody had a different set of rules with their cap on the number. So should she be punished for that? I mean,
no.
And I hate to use the word punishment, but I just feel like that's something that has to be discussed in the personnel policy.
Yes. So,
committee.
And Esther is right saying that it becomes law.
I feel for anyone that might be affected by this, but this has been a headache from the beginning, you know, and no fault to those that came over, but if we pass this, we're bound by whatever it says.
That's true.
So can we?
I will give you my personal opinion. My personal opinion, which means absolutely nothing, because the personnel committee sets the policy. I don't know why we even have a cap on sick time. You can't cash it out. You can't. It's really just time off if you absolutely need it. And we have a catastrophic leave bank that people can pull from if they need it. So that's just my opinion. Here, take it or leave it. But we're off in the weeds there.
I kind of wondered that myself when I was there.
Yeah, but that's something that needs to be washed out at personnel.
Then maybe we pick that up in personnel meeting. And if we know we're going to pick that up, Esther, would it be okay to go ahead and pass it? Because if it's kind of a wash, and we know it's going to go away, and nobody gets paid for their sick leave, right?
Correct.
Let's think
Then
about
it's a moot point.
Let's think about what we're asking for here, too, Mary. I knew people had 3 years of sick leave accumulated.
But you don't get paid for your sick leave.
Yeah.
Well, you may have, but we're not going to here.
Well, I'm telling you.
But the
Let
ones
me
that
go on. Somebody can stay on sick leave for 3 years instead of taking disability.
The ones that have
accumulated
sick leave like that are the ones that come to work, and they work
Well,
every
right,
day.
yeah, right. But
So they shouldn't have to be punished by having sick time taken away.
That's where I think the cap comes in, because you can't have somebody take off 171 or 192 days of the year.
So we need to rein our discussion back in. We're starting to have a personnel committee about sick time and sick leaves. Sick time is included in this. However, there is a clear intent by all involved. This is on video. It's provable that you guys have said that there's a point of friction with the sick time.
Yes.
It's going to be addressed at the next personnel committee. If someone feels the need, there is a reference point within the ordinance that you're passing. If they feel they've been done unjustly, there is a route for them to take. So, and like Pam said, the sick time that is over the personnel amount is still going to be there until personnel policy meets and makes a decision at that point. And the personnel policy cannot make a decision. All they can do is bring it back to this body. So everybody has to vote on that decision anyway. So having stated that, I think we've about discussed this until we're blue in the face, and we're probably ready for a roll call vote. Is there any more discussion that we feel we just have to make?
If we pass this, her time goes back on the books. Because it says right here, all Section 4. Employees accumulated sick time conveyed to the county from Fairfield Bay. So that goes back on the books until the personnel committee does their thing and brings it back to us.
One more thing, Esther, you're on the personnel committee.
Yes.
Okay. So you can say all you want to do on it.
So what happens if they make a different decision in the personnel?
Come back to court.
So we would have to amend this ordinance, make a new ordinance. What?
You could repeal this one and do a new one.
Amendment.
And here's the deal: we are dealing with a group of people, and my guidance from the AAC is, whatever the decision is, as long as it's applied to a whole category, we're okay. I mean, we just have to set it and, make that policy. So if we review it and want to change it, this is law for a month.
Well, right now, it's not anything because it's a resolution. Yeah. So we've been functioning for 6 weeks or 7 weeks off of a resolution and not an ordinance. So there's some legal differences there.
I agree.
So we need to put this the way it's supposed to be, and then we can do repeals, and then we can do all that other. But this has gone on
too
long without it being an ordinance. So this is starting the ball rolling. Is all this is.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Any more discussion?
I don't envy the personnel policy committee.
Roll call vote.
Holcomb?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Lemmings?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.
2023-24.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Sarah Brown.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to transfer $1,000 from personal services in the district court budget number 1000-409 to other services and charges. Whereas the district court probation officer position is currently vacant, and whereas employees from Faulkner County have been traveling to Van Buren County to assist, and whereas it is crucial that monies be transferred to aid these employees in their costs for travel. Now therefore be ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that $1,000 be transferred from line item 1000-409-1001 salaries to line item 1000-409 3030 travel. Make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah? Yes. Phillips?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Lemmings?
Yes.
Bass?
Yeah.
2023-25.
Thank you. Our next item is a resolution sponsored by Brown.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, A resolution to repeal previous resolutions R 2022-15 and R 2022-17 to reestablish guidelines for the funding attached to those resolutions and for other purposes. Whereas Resolution R-2022-15 allocated $20,000 for a storm shelter at the road department, and whereas Resolution R-2022-17 allocated $6,000 for a storm shelter at the solid waste department. And whereas there is a need to increase the budget for the 911 backup facility due to a necessary repair of roof leaks and other purposes. Now therefore it be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas that 1. Resolution R-2022-15 is hereby repealed, and 2. Resolution R-2022-17 is hereby repealed, and 3. The sum of $26,000 shall be approved for completion of the 911 backup facility, and 4. The funds may be used as needed to complete the 911 backup center project, including but not limited to repairing the roof, refurbishing the facility, purchasing of office equipment, or other purposes. I move we adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution. Any discussion? All in favor of adoption signify by saying aye.
Oh, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Looking at the ARP fund, the 911 facility, we got $750,000 was given to them for the facility. They spent, let's see, I'm off the line here, $511,404, at least $238,000 still in their budget.
Right.
So why are we coming back with adding $26,000 more, and even on their 911 CAT system, there's $31,000 left from that? What we need to do is,
it's not complete. They're still in construction. We still have more bills coming in.
Okay, so we got $238,000 there, and that's not. You need more than that.
We had to submit a change order for the roof, and the whole project was going to be on hold until that roof got completed.
But this money here was already there, available for them to use, correct?
The other, yes, and we went ahead and had them do that work. But it's going to short us on materials to get that center up and operational, such as desks, monitors, things like that for the workstations. That's why I didn't want to ask for more. I just wanted to repurpose the money that was already there.
This is just a reallocation.
Okay. Well, but no, he's taking. I know he's not adding anything to it, but he's taking money that was going to be for storm shelters for those two places, and then.
Right. We discussed this at the budget committee the other night, and I thought it was pretty clear. Maybe it wasn't.
Well, I just see the money here is what I'm understanding. Yeah. Going back to I just got the approved, spent, and remaining, and it shows $238,000, and then $31,000 from the CAD system left over. Well, that's $269,000 remaining.
Right. Those are still open projects, and we still have work to complete. Okay. But yeah, the storm shelters we're still going to get. It's just the road one will come out of road funds, and the solid waste one will come out of solid waste funds. So it's just freeing up those funds to be able to move over to that.
So we're going to come back and reallocate $26,000 more to do those two projects?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No.
You're doing away with the projects.
We solid waste is its own freestanding unit, right? We don't subsidize it from county general. I can get them a storm shelter out of their funds. Same with roads.
We didn't subsidize them here with this.
We were going to, but you wouldn't have to. That was just to use some ARP funds instead of having to use these funds, just like every other ARP expense.
So you're saying if we don't allocate this to them, we're going to run short?
We could, because that roof was an expensive fix. When it came that flooding rain, it leaked like a sieve. and they wouldn't even sheetrock it until we could get those roof leaks fixed.
$60,000 is an expensive roof.
260? No, 20.
Hot roof?
28,000.
You said they had in their budget.
Well, 28,000 with the roof is, or whatever's costing to do the roof. I understand that. I'm just talking about the money, trying to figure out where it's all,
right,
where it's coming from, and where it's going to. We got that allocated out, and then it's not.
The way I'm understanding this is an unexpected expense, so the money's got to come from somewhere because all the other money is already allocated to other things, and this money is needed to add
to that project.
Just repurposing money that's already been approved. Clear as mud?
No, I understand. I got you. I just don't.
Any more discussion? All in favor of adopting this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the next resolution is sponsored by Nikki Brown.
What's the number?
Oh, sorry.
I'll have to see that since I don't know that. R 2023-03.
Oh, what?
3.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution amending previous resolution R-2022-31, which set guidelines for the following project. District Court General Building Improvements. Budget not to exceed $45,000. Whereas the Budget Committee has approved the following amendment to be forwarded to the full Quorum Court for approval, and whereas Resolution R-2022-31 tied the budget amount of $45,000 to improvements specific to the building, and whereas the building improvements were completed under budget, and whereas there is a need to broaden the purpose for the previous resolution to include office supplies, office furniture, and other purposes. Now therefore it be resolved by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that 1, the original total budget of $45,000 still remain intact. 2, the unspent project money be spent for the proper purpose other than personnel services. I make a motion we adopt this resolution.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yeah.
My question or my concern in doing this is that we're creating a monster. If you take the ARP funds that everyone has, you said you built in cushions and you built in all this money extra for them. If we start letting them come back and use their money for, well, whatever, desk. I understand things wear out. I understand that they need desks and they need those kind of things. But for me, when I go looking at that $16,000 return, it's a desk for someone or body armor for a sheriff's department. We're running short. Anyway, we're talking about the money we had, and I want to make sure that we get things taken care of that need to be taken care of. Because we built in you guys had so much money that you built in such cushion in everybody's budget when they offered money.
And we did build in cushion. We did. But I see it different. I mean, one, it was based on projects, and I won't lie, there wasn't a concrete formula on that. But hey, does this one have an architect? That made a big difference in the cushion that they got. So some of these projects that weren't going to have architects got a much smaller cushion, because at the time we had no idea what the architect would cost. Okay, and that was one big reasoning for a cushion on those. The other thing, that I want to say is, one, she did bring back a list like that was requested at the budget meeting with that.
Right.
On a thing like this, though, to me personally, I know that we did have a lot of money, and we went through the proposals and we decided how much should be allotted to each of these departments. As far as the sheriff's office, I feel like at the budget committee we did a really good job of finding what they needed. I don't feel like the sheriff's department is going to be lacking. And so I know that there are a lot, I would say the majority. Do I know a department in the annex that didn't get new desks? And that came back to some came back at a later, I feel like, I don't feel that this is absorbent or not a good use for the money, I guess is the point that I would say to complete their remodel.
And we're not taking the $16,000 to buy desks. We had Billy make our desks because desks are $10,000. So I stopped all of our projects because I was afraid I was going to go over, and I didn't want to come ask for more. Other people have asked for more, which I feel should have went to the sheriff. But I didn't ask for any more. But I did ask the contractor to come back and do the second bulletproof wall once we realized we weren't going to go over our budget. And that's going to come out of that 16. We needed some signage to show people can't find our court, and to put on the doors because we're always putting up paper signs that get blown away to show which office is which. Also, the paint trim, the trustees painted great, but they can't trim that black on that gray. They were having a really hard time, so we were going to find somebody cheap to do the trim that we still haven't found them, but we're looking. And we have to add an electrical outlet. So we still have, these projects are projects that go on the building for $7,851. And then this morning, Chris Bates came, and we've got a big issue. And this stuff all has to come first. I wouldn't buy furniture until we paid for all this other stuff. Chris Bates came, and we have a room that our server's in, and our mini air conditioner went out. Well, that server puts out a lot of heat, and if it gets too hot, it's going to crash. So we have to do something about that. Now, he wants us to build this ductless mini split system, and he thinks it's the best for $4,000, or we can replace that little air conditioner we have for $1,500, but we'll have to replace it every couple years. And that I don't really know what to do because this just happened today.
Well, I got a question on that. If we don't have to have 3 bids to do that particular job of that?
No.
No?
It's due to the amount.
Okay.
Is it 10,000? It's over 10,000.
They loosened the restrictions on ARP funds to be equivalent to your state amount. So our state amount right now is $35,000.
Okay.
And then this furniture's that's padded. The judge has some furniture in there. I've donated some of my furniture. We were just trying to get a few things to finish so that the office thing will be complete. But if we have to, we could live without the furniture. But I plan to go to the thrift stores or a secondhand place and look at furniture and not buy real expensive furniture. Anyway, that's what we have. And of course, I want the sheriff to get what he deserves because I think they do deserve their money. But I'm purposely trying to stay in my budget so that we can have these things.
Good discussion. Any more discussion? All in favor of approving this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Do I hear a motion to approve the transfers?
Make a motion.
Oh, we didn't get a number on the resolution.
R 2023-04.
Do I hear a motion to approve the transfers?
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the transfers. Any discussion? All in favor of approval of the transfers signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Brings us down to public comment, and I know my road superintendent has a comment. Yes. Esther's wanting to comment first.
Okay, we had under the list of stuff that I got, we had some money to be allocated to the election commission. What happened to that ordinance?
ARP money? Are you talking about ARP money?
No. It was for training for the election commission for the upcoming 2024. That's what. Did anyone else get that? I got it in my email.
I don't remember an ordinance for the election committee this time.
I got it.
Well, good catch. We don't want to miss anything. Okay, Randy, sorry about that.
We were planning a fish fry on the 30th, but it's been postponed till April 6th. So you can come. So all the JPs are invited. So we're going to have the city. I got Charles Wilson this week, and we agreed on April the 6th. So we're going to have it out there at the shop. Noon.
Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
The sheriff's office got their generator delivered today. We came in just under 25,000. I think we delivered that bill for previously approved projects. So we're excited about getting that completed.
Any other comments?
I move we adjourn.
Does anyone object to adjournment? Thank you.
Thank you, Don.